Today we're talking about angles, mathletes. So we're going to talk about how to measure angles and how to draw angles. We'll be sketching angles and things like that. We'll be talking about coterminal angles. So we'll see some a little bit of vocab here. So first of all, an angle in standard position. So here's an example of an angle in standard position. So when you have an angle in standard position, that's when you have the vertex on the origin. Okay, so you can see the vertex here. And you have one ray. So, and you all know an angle is formed by two rays, right? Where you have a vertex and then you have two rays. All right. So when it's in standard position, one of the rays is on the positive x-axis, and that's called the initial side. Okay. So this is the initial side, or the ray on the positive x-axis. Okay. And then we have a terminal side, which is the other ray, the ray that rotates about the center of an angle in standard position, right? So if I go 100 degrees, if I rotate from the initial side 100 degrees, then where I end up is the terminal side, right? That's what terminal means, like the terminal at the airport. That's the end of the airport, right? Where you get off, or where you leave the airport and get onto the plane. And so the terminal side is where is the side where the angle ends, where it ends up. Okay. All right. And so we'll talk about some of these other words here in a little bit, but I wanted to show you a couple things. So first of all, when you have a positive angle, like this one here, positive angle means that your angle, your rotation is going to go actually counterclockwise. So it's a little maybe counterintuitive. So it's going to go counterclockwise. Okay. Whereas if you have a negative angle, like over here, so a negative angle, the rotation is going to go from the initial side and it's going to go clockwise to the terminal side. Okay. So clockwise for a negative angle. Okay. So positive angle is counterclockwise, negative angle is clockwise. All right. So now let's talk about our landmarks. So since we're starting on the positive x-axis, the positive x-axis is 0 degrees. Okay. And then we're going around, for a positive angle, at least we're going around counterclockwise, right? So we're going this way. So we know that to get to the y-axis, that would be 90 degrees, right? That's a right angle. And so this is 90 degrees. Okay. And if we go another 90 degrees to get to the negative x-axis, this is going to be 180. Okay. If we go another 90 degrees, that's going to be 270. And then if we go another 90, when we get back to 0, that's also 360, right? And we know that 360 is a full rotation. So that gets us back to 0. And then we can continue to go, right? Like this would be 360 plus 90 would be 450, right? And this would be 450 plus 90 would be 540. Okay. Plus another 90 would be 630, 720, right? So you can go around as many times as you want, and you just keep adding, or just keep increasing your angle measure. Okay. Now let's say we're going. So those blue ones are when you have a positive angle. If we're going negative, then we're going to go the other direction, right? We're going to go clockwise from the initial side, from the positive x-axis. So this would actually be negative 90 here, right? This would be negative 180. If I go another negative 90, that'll give me the negative 270. Give myself a little space here. Negative 270. Okay. And then here we'll get to negative 360. Okay. And once again, we can continue to go and get to negative 450, negative 540, negative 630, negative 720, and so forth. Okay. So those are our major landmarks in degrees. So we'll come back to this page and talk about radians here in a minute. But let's actually try to draw some angles here. So the directions here say draw an angle with the given measure in standard position. So number one, I want to draw 335 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the positive x-axis, right? That's my initial side, okay? And I'm going to go 335. So I know my landmarks, right? This is 90, 180. You don't have to write these on your paper, but if it helps you, definitely feel free to do it, right? Okay. So I know I'm going to start at 360. I'm going to go counterclockwise. So I'm going to go past 90, past 180, past 270, and I want to get, I'm not going to go past 360. So now I just want to know what's closer. 335, is it 335 closer to 360 or is it closer to 270? And the answer is 360, right? So it's going to be a little closer to the x-axis than it is to the y, okay? So that's my rotation, and so there's my terminal side, okay? And so that's basically what I want to see when you're drawing your angles. Is I want to see your rotation, and then I want to see your terminal side. All right. And you don't necessarily have to draw the initial side because we know it's on the x-axis. So if you don't draw this, that's okay. But just make sure that your rotation starts from that point. Okay. So notice we're not starting from the origin. We're starting from on the x-axis, right? So if you do this kind of thing, like a swirly like that, that's not going to be, you're going to lose some points there because, yeah, we want to start on the positive x-axis, not at the origin. It's not a spiral. It's a rotation of the initial side to the terminal side. Okay. All right, number two. So here we have 70 degrees. So this is my initial side, and I want to go 70 degrees. I know this is 90. So I'm going to go not all the way to 90, but closer to 90 than 0, right? 70 is closer to 90. So I'm going to make it go like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want to, I should see clearly which side it's closer to if it's closer to one side or the other. All right. And if it's in the middle, then it should be close to the middle. Okay. All right. So that's 70 degrees. Now number 3, 490. So this time we're going past 360, right? So this is 360. And remember this, if I go past 360, then this would be 450, right? Another 90. And this would be 540, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the initial side. I'm going to go all the way around to 360. And then I want to go end up somewhere here, right? In the second quadrant between 450 and 540. So 490 is closer to 450, not by much, but it is closer to 450. So I'm going to go a little past here. And that's where we want to end up, okay? So sometimes your rotation will go around more than once, and then it does start to look like a spiral. But notice once again, we're not starting on the origin, we're starting on the positive x-axis, all right? Okay, so now that angle, so I know it went past 360 because it wrapped around once, right, and then kept going. So keep that in mind. So that's how we know, even though the terminal side may be the same as another terminal side, which we'll talk about in a little bit with coterminal angles, but I know that it's 490 because it goes past 360 and then back around again. All right, and then this next one, now we have a negative angle here, right? So negative angle, we start on the positive x-axis still, right? But this time we're going to go clockwise. So remember our negative landmarks. This is negative 90, negative 180, negative 270, right? So I want to get pretty close to negative 270. So I'm going to go counterclockwise, starting positive x-axis, going counterclockwise, then I'm going to end up just short of 270. So that'll be our terminal side there, okay? All right, so that's how we draw positive and negative angles. Remember, we could have negative ones that go around more than negative 360, right? They could go around more. And so, yeah, so that's how you draw angles, is you just start on the positive x-axis and then go clockwise if it's negative, counterclockwise if it's positive. And and just know what your landmarks are, and then to figure out which quadrant you end up with in, right? And I forgot to mention the quadrants, but quadrant 1 is top right, then quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4, right? So those are our quadrants.